Welcome into the Dug In Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Lewis. I'm joined by Ben Weingart and William Maxwell. You can follow us at The Dug In Pod on YouTube. The Dug In Pod is also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as at Dug In Pod. We got a lot on the schedule for tonight. It's going to be a long one, but we're going to start off with this first and foremost. Giveaway still going. 2 AMC tickets. All you got to do is comment, like the video, and be a subscriber to win. I'm going to say your chances are very high at this point. What do you guys think?
Yeah, man, get on in here. The water's warm.
I was being silent. I was giving people enough time to get in here and get ready to get their giveaway. Because I'm still mad that I'm not eligible to win.
Yeah, well, you're a sponsor. Okay?
Allegedly.
Win. This isn't the Reagan politics of the 80s. Come on.
I have split personalities.
AMC, isn't it?
Isn't it? AMC, yeah. This is a giveaway, yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about, of course, Moon Knight this episode, but we're also going to talk about Doctor Strange 2 later on and some Warner Brothers shakeup. So stay tuned for that. So first and foremost, how did you like episodes 3 and 4?
I'll start it off, guys. I hate to say it, but I'm a little bored here. Like, there was a nice twist at the end of episode 4, which we all appreciated. We discussed previously. But I was bored to death of episode 3. And here's why. Starts out kind of good.
Is it because you're insane like Mark apparently is? Because I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the first 2 episodes were good. Episode 3, it was big meeting of the gods. And, hey, I'm going to accuse, we got to stop Hero. He's about to wake up Amit. We got to handle this. And then Hero comes in. Oh, he's lying. You know what? You're right, Hero. He's lying. Let's imprison Khonshu. Take away his powers. Then comes along episode 4. Oh, let's do our Raiders of the Lost Ark impression. I'm going to get shot twice and then, hey guys, guess what? None of it's real. 2 episodes left, guys. What are they going to do with this?
So
I just watched them go through an episode powerless, fight some ancient guardian. I wasn't I'm kind of bored.
Okay. All right, Ben, go ahead.
Right, this is crazy, absolutely crazy. But I'm kind of with you on three. Three's the slow one. That's the one we needed more backstory. We started this off as a mystery. We got to have some dialogue and some conversation episode happening. It's just Marvel TV. Most of these superhero TV shows, it just sucks. We only have 6. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. The scene with the gods was weird. I don't need a courtroom scene until we get to She-Hulk, whenever that show comes out. Like, I don't need to see them like weirdly arguing with a talking bird monster that's clearly CGI. But 4 hooked me back in. You're saying Raiders of the Lost Ark like it's some weird dirty term. Like, this was the best mummy movie we've had since Brendan Fraser was in one. Like, I don't understand. This was amazing. What do you want from this? I told you all, man, I hate powerless episodes. Depowering the one hero we actually want to see with powers, that sucks. And then they did a really cool episode. What do you want?
I, I don't know what was cool about it, except the last 10 minutes.
The entire scene of them going through the tomb where those weird, are they mummies? Like, came back to life, were sticking their hands out of the walls. What? Like, that's awesome.
That's the thing, though. We've seen that before countless times in other movies and shows. Like, there was nothing
Have you seen it
new
in
about
Marvel?
that.
Have you seen it in a Marvel movie?
Kinda, sorta.
I don't know. I'm
And then we got
completely the other way.
We got the very obvious, hey, Mark had something to do with your dad dying. Did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know that? Like, yes, we knew it episode 2. I don't think, and then go back to the gods meeting. I'm like, my first thought in episode 3 was like, there's not enough that happened in the first 2 episodes for us to have this giant meeting about Amit being resurrected. I mean, I still don't. I don't understand a lot of what's going on. Like, I kind of do. But then when we get to the end of the 4th episode and now we find out it's all in his head, and now I'm just even more thrown for a loop. So I don't know. They lost me. I don't feel like enough has happened and we only have 2 episodes left.
Okay.
So I just don't know where they're going to go from here.
I think you come at it at a perspective that probably me and Ben can't come at it with. You're probably the top end audience for this show. You're a Marvel fan, but
don't undersell it. He's a Marvel scholar. Like, let's not get away from him.
But he wants to be excited with he needs to be excited.
Sure.
The story thing. The story thing's not his style. He needs to be excited. He needs to see some payoff. So I think that's what you're missing. Some payoff.
I need more action. I don't know. Like I said, we've seen actual Moon Knight twice so far.
Yeah, his suit time has been very low, but it's all CGI, so I can't really blame him for that.
Yeah, he's been in the suit twice up to this point. Like I was telling y'all the other day, I still really don't know what his power set is. Besides, we said fast healing. And other than that, he's a black belt. And that's pretty much all I've seen in 4 episodes. So he only shows his power twice, and then he loses it in 2.5 hours of show. So I just, like, what are they doing?
So that is one of my critiques on the show. I think it's a critique on all of the Marvel shows that it seems like the episode order that it should, like some of the scenes should come in, they come in too late.
Yeah.
And they need to time it a little bit better. So I think if they had the ending to this episode in episode 2, you would have had a lot more people kind of hooked, and you can go in the background, and then you can go from there to finish off the story in 2 sequential episodes. If they did that, we would have been cheapened on the front side of it, which is the character development side. And we would have been probably complaining like, who's Steven? Who's Mark? Why do these people matter? Just give us Moon Knight. So, as much as the show is Moon Knight, I feel like it's more of the character behind Moon Knight more than anything else. So,
I think that's part of it too, though. I think that's why they started off the way they did, especially with the first episode where we have a lot of like the lapses in his memory when he's switching personas. And I mean, we can talk about that more too, because I know we've been having that debate since like episode 2 and 3. But I think that's part of it is they wanted us to be confused like him, and that's the tone. But like you said, like this episode with like the meeting of the gods, like that would have started a Thor movie, and we would have just been okay with it, and then we can roll from there with the repercussions of that or something. Like it does seem out of place 2 hours into the show with 2 hours to go, 3 hours to go. So,
well, I mean, clearly, I enjoyed the episodes. I mean, I think this is some of the best character development that they've done in Marvel for any of the TV show, so any of the TV series. But
That's
clearly,
disgusting.
we are conflicted on what's truly happening in this show because they presented 3 personalities, and the fourth one being Khonshu and his personality and his true motives. And then they have Harrow and his and Amit and their whole thing. Like, are they working with the high gods to take over? Why are they putting all the gods in statues? Like, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and hopefully they structured it like HBO structures their series, where the episode before last is always the biggest one. The penultimate is always, like Game of Thrones, is always episode 9. That was the big one out of their 10 episode series. So hopefully episode 5, it will answer a lot of our questions, answer the questions of like Mark, why does he split off his personality into Steven? Is that because he wants to get away from his wife so much that he created Steven, where he can be all the things that his wife loves? Why is he truly there? How long has Steven been there? Because it sounds like he's been there all his life. So are we going to get a flashback to his childhood? And then answering all the questions with the gods, answering all the questions of where they're at right now. Why is there a hippo on my screen? I don't understand. But we'll get to that later. But like, what do you feel like is truly happening in the show? I feel like it's more we're getting to know Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, and his other personalities more than anything else.
Well, I'm at the point, like, through 4 episodes, I still, who's driving the show? Because you meet Steven first. He's the bumbling, super skittish librarian. And then Mark comes along later in the first episode when they're in danger, and he needs Steven to let him take over. And then you get to the second episode, and you get a better balance of Steven and Mark. It's been Steven the whole time up until like the end of episode 2 and the start of episode 3. Then it was Mark pretty much all of episode 3. And then episode 4 is Steven again when he loses his power. So who is controlling who? Is Steven creating all this in his head, or is Mark creating all of this in his head?
I think the way they came from the beginning of the season, they showed Harrow and then Steven to kind of show the polar opposites of who these people are. Like, you got a cult leader and then, a person of absolutely nothing on the other side. Not even a museum guide. He was just a staffer. And
gift shopist.
Gift shop. Inventory duty. That's all he did. So as much as we like Mark better as a personality, Steven's had the most time, and Steven is the most, I guess, lovable character. But he's also blind in all of this. He's just figuring all this out the same time we are. Steven did not know that he had another personality until that day, right? Until it was like the lady
He
walked
sees
up with the
himself in the
date.
mirror or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew something was off, and then with the fish, and he started figuring out just like us. So we kind of got led with breadcrumbs down that way. But then we meet Mark, and we figure out that Mark might be the person behind all this, but you can tell like there's something in his past that he's trying to get away from. The whole time he's deflective and he wants to fight and he just wants to take over, but he can't. And that kind of drives one of my theories of like this, after he gets shot in this episode 4, he's not really dead. He's in an in-between space, just like in Black Panther when he didn't die. He was like in that realm.
Yeah, the ancestors with the ancestors, yeah.
Yeah, the ancestral plane. I think that Mark he put up such a block in his mind, a defensive block in his mind to keep his mind safe away from what he truly is, which might be his third personality. And it's just very interesting because it goes into like a lot of therapy, counseling methods too. Like you have this person that's literally shut off part of their memory, and you have to go explore with them to unlock what they might have forgotten due to trauma.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too, because it's clearly, and that's always been part of the comic character too, is the dissociative identity disorder, like what used to be known as like multiple personalities. But your mind subconsciously creates something based on trauma. What if they've mentioned it now, and Will kind of said they really drove the nail home in the last episode. What if it's like the killing of her father that like splinters? That's where Steven's born. Or maybe it was before that something, but it's these traumatic events that trigger this new personality for him. So I think and I think you kind of mentioned too, like what's happening. I'm with you. Everything we've seen is real. And I think this like weird asylum thing at the end of episode 4 is like a stasis. Like that hippo god is keeping him there, keeping him alive so he doesn't die from like very obviously being shot in the chest. I think it's like too abrupt of a change to just be like, oh, LOL, it was all in his head. Like I don't think we're gonna go that far. I think that was just him dealing with the trauma of being saved abruptly of when he should be dead.
I agree with that. And it kind of follows where he sees Mark and Steven see each other at the end of episode 4 as well. So, I mean, you're not going to see yourself outside of yourself unless it was in some kind of like weird extra dimension type thing. I mean, because they don't both exist in the same world. So, them both seeing each other in human form probably gives away that they're in some kind of weird extra plane or something like that.
Yeah, I really think that we're going to dive deep into what's happening later on, but I feel like with all Disney shows, it's never this straightforward. Like, nothing's going to be straightforward. And so while I was watching episode 3, I was like, oh, this is turning out like Indiana Jones. And then all the way until the middle of episode 4, I'm like, oh, we got, the MacGuffin, and we got to follow, and we got to trace. So this is like the Mummy. This is like Indiana Jones. This is like whatever else, Scorpion King, whatever. But
yeah, that's the pull to make is Scorpion King. Good one. Couldn't land with the 2. You had to bring in the Scorpion King.
Hey, Dwayne Johnson. He's our generation's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like it or not. So, but
that's unfortunately.
But I just feel like until this point, I was like, what's the twist? There's got to be something big coming. and they hit us with a Jordan Peele-esque Get Out
Yeah.
like montage of ridiculousness, and we'll get into it later because it's a lot of things that just don't add up, and it's gotta be that this is his mind doing some defense mechanism, or the gods keeping him alive for some reason. Like it doesn't make sense that him and like Stephen and Mark can be in the same place physically and it be the real world. And that's why I think, the thing of, oh, it's all a TV show or something like that, or it's all fake in his mind. Whatever happened through episodes 1 and 4 is all fake. Now we're starting to get to the real. I don't think that's it. I think this is a pause until he gets back his powers.
That's the thing, though. Like, what if it is? That's where I'm kind of like, we don't know if it's real or not now.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of disappointing if it wasn't at this point, I feel like, because they built up to this part where they finally get to the tomb, they finally get what they need and looking for, and then they drop the bomb that, hey, this guy is, he's in the psych ward and he's making all this up in his head.
Yeah, that almost seems like weirdly convenient. And it also feels that, and I kind of mentioned this too when we were talking before this, but like it feels too WandaVision. Like we just did this. That was the whole point of WandaVision, which I think handled that part of it expertly too. I mean, I know everybody wasn't sold on the first few episodes, but I loved it, like trying to figure out what was happening. And I feel like you can't do that story again. That'd be really weird to pull it again for Moon Knight that quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's move on here because we got a lot to cover and we're gonna get to it. We're gonna dive deep into the details now. So Khonshu, he got put in a statue. I forgot what they're actually called. I'm not gonna research that much. He got put in a statue and placed among the other gods, and we got a screenshot up, and there's about 10 other gods, or 9 other gods up there, so 10 total. What do you guys think is happening with the gods in the Great Pyramid? Because I feel like this is a war against the gods, and it's not going well. Or they're being tricked by Harrow.
Well, they're obviously being misled by Harrow, and his plan worked. I mean, he got Khonshu in prison. That's pretty much what happened. So, Khonshu in prison, obviously, that makes it what's the word I'm looking for? Easier for him to carry out his plan with Amit. And then you see in episode 4, he's gotten there. He's resurrected Amit. So with Khonshu out the way, Mark has his power stripped. I mean, it looks like he's about to, go ahead and carry out his plan to get Amit released and wage war on the world as all these shows and movies go. So I think it was just, Khonshu's imprisoned. And it's just one pawn out the way so he can carry out his plan. I think it's nothing more, nothing less than that.
Yeah, but why show the whole wall of them then? That was the weird part. There's just so many. It wasn't just they're putting him in the middle of a room. Like the leader walked him down and threw him on a shelf with a bunch of other ones. Like, is that the ones that like people just completely stop believing in? There's no faith in them, so they've turned to these little statues. Did they also move the stars, which was probably the worst scene in episode 3 totally, but whatever.
So it's my understanding. I think they're all just imprisoned gods. And for whatever war or whatever happened back in the past, 2,000 years ago, I think is what they said. So I don't know if it has too much relevance. I just think it's one giant prison.
Yeah, I feel like the other guys that are there are some of the main like Egyptian gods. So I feel like the group outside of that we saw aren't really. It's like Osiris and a couple of other people that might be part of that lineage, but then Harrow might be just taking over slowly with Amit. And we learned that Amit used to be, you know, the previous avatar of Amit was Alexander the Great. Could something have started back then? I'm not really sure what route they were going with that. But I do feel like these statues have to come into play because even in the tomb of Alexander's, there is a bunch of army statues. And then you have the wall of statues in the gods. And then in the main chamber of the Great Pyramid, there was a whole bunch of statues there. So have these people like been trapping them in over the last 2,000 years? That's why Khonshu was so sad about it. When he mentioned like, what did he say? He said, I remember that night in like a really sad voice before he turned back the stars to make it look like it was 2,000 years ago. Like something dramatic had to happen.
Yeah, I wonder if almost like we start on episode 5 or 6 with that like dramatic flashback, kind of like DC did at the beginning of Justice League. Like, was that in the Whedon cut where they're like, I show everybody fighting Darkseid or whatever, like all the ridiculous races in your one shot of Green Lantern or whatever. Like, I wonder if we kind of get that, like there was a war of the gods and they chose sides. Maybe like those are the other gods that were on like Amit's side or something. Because clearly she's in prison too. That's the whole point of what they're looking for is her little statue. Yeah, I forget what they called it too. They mentioned some MacGuffin-y word for that too.
Yeah, I keep thinking Ishtar, but that's going back to Destiny, my time playing Destiny.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's Ishtar.
That's another god, yeah.
I'm definitely putting the Ishtar in Wordle tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be better than whatever word I gride or whatever I played today.
Yep.
That was
Terrible.
trash. But yeah, I think the statue concept needs to come in play later on, and I think it has to come in play with starting with the hippo lady. What was her name? Towerwet. Towerwet.
Something like that.
Yeah. If like Mark or Steven becomes her avatar to get out, and then Khonshu takes over the avatar of that, and they start freeing all of these statues, I think that would be some kind of counterplay to what Amit wants. So, and it's hard to tell if it's like Harrow or Amit doing all this. Is he just stealing Amit's power to, just be this genocidal cult leader? Or is he really obeying Amit behind the scenes?
Avatar for her, yeah.
So hopefully we explore that later on, but yeah. We mentioned it earlier. Moon Knight's been like Indiana Jones, The Mummy, Scorpion King 1 and 2. I feel like the clicker scene was like Last of Us.
Yeah.
I felt like that was
exactly like Last of Us.
I was like, okay, this is what the Last of Us movie should be like the whole time.
Yeah, if we don't get that, I'm gonna be pretty bummed. Like that scene was like, it wasn't terrifying. I think it was like a little too bright for that because they like weirdly had like sunlight in there, but it was still like a good level of suspense. It was interesting. I don't know. I don't think we've seen that in Marvel. I still disagree with Will from that earlier. Like that was such a different take and just something really cool.
Yeah, it was so different that it reminded us of a game that we played 3 years ago.
I mean, what are you expecting? What are you expecting? You're expecting everything to be new? You know how difficult it is with all the stuff that's out there, everything that we've watched, everything that we've seen in the past, 60 years of film, 80 years of film. and entertainment to come up with
Like,
something new.
I get it, but I'm just saying, like, it's Disney, so I don't expect it to go super duper scary. Like, it was a very suspenseful scene. Like, I got it. I appreciated the scene, but it's like we've seen it before.
Did
I
you
don't think it was
feel like Layla was in trouble?
absolutely not. Nothing's going to happen to Layla in episode 4 of a brand new series with a brand new character. That would have been some Game of Thrones type stuff. They would have offed Layla this early.
So you think she has plot armor?
She absolutely has plot armor. I believe like she's his. I think in the comics she's his girlfriend, but in the Marvel show it's his wife. They're not going to off his wife.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they're going to really have to commit to do it just to really sell a story, which is always kind of shitty when they just kill a woman to move the story along. You don't need to do that.
And we just
I don't know
found
that.
out that Mark has something to do, or he's seen her dad die, so they're going to wrestle with that for the next however many episodes they plan on
2
doing with this.
episodes, yeah. 2 more.
Yeah.
I think that gets handled next episode. I think we flash back and we see it. I think next episode is going to be a ton of flashbacks. And then he gets resurrected at the end.
Shocker.
Yeah, he has to go through his story.
Shocker.
I don't know. I disagree though. Like with the originality of Marvel, I don't think we've ever seen anything new in Marvel anyway. The best part and the most fun Marvel movies are taking something we've already learned and or seen before in a movie and putting the Marvel characters into it. You know, like we've seen a heist movie 3,000 times. Ant-Man's fun because it's a fun heist movie. We've seen, you know, origin stories of heroes or even like the billionaire do something, and Iron Man's fun because of the character and just a new it's not even a new invention, it's just their cover songs of this, which is kind of why they get flack from, you know, every big cinema fan, which I understand. Like they're not amazing cinematic movies, but they're fun. They're great to watch, and I think that's what Moon Knight's doing best. Like we've never really seen a Indiana Jones in the Marvel universe. Well, here it is. Like this is what we're getting, and I think they're doing a great job. It's absolutely a love letter to those too. Even down to that, I was writing it down about it too. That like crappy video that they show and like the skeleton coming off of like a stake in the ground. Like it's great. Like it's perfect. It is the Mummy. It is India, and that's what I want out of this show. It's great. Like that's how else are you gonna weave Egypt in without touching on those cultural touchstones?
My goodness. This
Tomb Raider.
Shill.
Absolutely, yeah. You got me. Finally, the tables have turned, Will, and you've gotten me.
This is disgusting.
The Tomb Buster movie. That's what it was.
Tomb Buster, yeah.
Professor Stephen Grant looking at the Aztec stuff. Look, I think that I'm not going to judge a 6-episode TV show for not hooking us in completely and kind of having plot armor, which I think Layla's got to have plot armor because she's going to be very important later on. Like, they might turn her into her own superhero because ever since we met her, we've learned that she can handle herself. She ain't the typical, you know, character to just be weak and a throwaway or a side character. I think they're hyping her up to be another main character. So
I'm not mistaken. She has more bodies than Moon Knight at this point in the show, right?
Probably.
I don't know. They gave him a lot in that horse episode where he was just killing like, but she ended up shooting a couple of them. Yeah, I don't know. She's done her fair share. Okay, by the way, I rewatched part of it when we were talking. I was trying to figure out if the hippo god we've seen before, but I don't think we've seen her actual avatar yet. This show's only TV-14. That's crazy, right?
I don't think so. I think it's appropriate. That's a good one.
You think? I feel like it's more violent than that. I mean, I guess we're not up to the Netflix level yet, but I thought it was. Like, he's been stabbing dudes with like his moon pieces, and
yeah,
I don't know, man.
I was thinking that because when they showed the scene when they're in the room when they meet the clicker thing, and you see the fresh blood and pretty much flesh all over the little table there, and then he catches the one dude and starts cutting him open on the table. I thought that was pretty gnarly,
Man, I
Disney.
I don't even remember that scene. I was too distracted by that crew member's shoes in the back.
Stop it.
Oh, Moon Knight stinks.
Oh, stop it.
Coffee cup
happens.
gate 2022.
That happened.
Ridiculous.
It happened
Sweet
in Game of
shoes, Mummy
Thrones.
Man.
It happened in Mandalorian. It happened in this show. It's just gonna happen all over. Look,
Mummy had on a pair of New Balances.
Stop it.
He had to go get his steps in, man. He's had a Fitbit too.
Disgusting.
Yeah, they need to clean that up, but I think they will after the pandemic is kind of subsided.
I think that's just Hollywood too. You just see the shot, somebody misses it because you're trying to rush to finish the episode. Man, nobody's gonna see that. And then the internet exists and people watch every frame 400 times. It still took 4 or 5, like 2 or 3 days for that to come out. Yeah, oh no, that was yesterday. I guess not. That was pretty quick.
No, they absolutely know people are going to go through it with a fine comb because how else are they? Why are they putting barcodes in our QR codes in the background, knowing that people are going to scan it and pull up the free Marvel comic that they have for the week? And they place a bunch of stuff in the background just to set up something later on. So why wouldn't they go through and say, oh, this crew member's feet are hanging out or the camera is showing in the chase scene? Like they shoot in widescreen or an IMAX or whatever. They need to make sure that they edit in that same format. But
maybe they're just so bored with this stinky show that they just sit there and look for stuff like that because it's the only thing that's keeping them entertained.
Nothing can change Will's mind that this show stinks. Okay.
This is crazy. Like, I feel like this is a character he's putting on right now, too. I feel like you've been all in. What happened?
It's for the podcast.
The first episode was great. I liked the first episode a lot. Then we get to the second episode, and what did I say? All right, this guy's a little bit too annoying. He's too skittish. I don't know what's going on. Come on now. Then episode 3 comes. Oh, third personality killed somebody. Who is that?
Oh my god.
And then episode 4 comes along and we get New Balance Man. So I'm just like, what's going on, guys? We got 2 episodes left. We have a powerless dude who just got shot. And then, oh, by the way, all this might be fake. Like, all right, where do we go from here?
All right, we're gonna have to bench Will for the rest of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we'll get to the
man's
theories.
about to tell me Morbius is better than this, and I'm gonna have to leave. I'm sorry, I can't do that again.
No,
probably would tell you if I watched that dung heap, but I didn't.
Oh man, we got to move on to the next thing because, oof. So while they were in the tomb, Stephen found Alexander the Great's tomb, which in my mind was pretty cool that they mixed it in. Like we talked about it before, they're mixing in faith and characters into Marvel to make it a more everyday thing. And now they're doing it with history. They did it with science and Thor. Like they're mixing combining real world stuff into the comics. And now this is like one of the biggest reveals of like, okay, Alexander the Great was Amit's avatar. That should be a way bigger story, and hopefully we get a flashback of that. How cool would that be to see Alexander turning on a Egyptian god? But at the same time, we don't have the time for it. We got all this other stuff to take care of. So what do you like or dislike about them combining history and the comics?
Man, I loved it. I'm a teacher, I'm a history buff. I loved it. I was like, he's like going through all the things, and like he didn't really say Alexander the Great's name yet, but he's like kind of hyping him up when Steven's like trying to like figure out, he's like, it can't be. It's like the King of Kings and all this stuff. I was like, and I kind of like looked over to my wife. I'm like, it's Alexander the Great. And then I felt really good. Like I was on Jeopardy. I was like, I feel smart. This was awesome. It was so cool. And it's nothing's happening with this. That was it. We got what we wanted out of here. And we're going to move on. But it was cool. I liked it. I wish there was more. We won't get more.
Yuck.
Oh, God.
Absolutely.
This man don't like nothing about this.
Unbelievable.
Wait. Can I ask you this, Will? Are you an Indiana Jones fan?
I'm going to go ahead and say that. How many Indiana Jones movies are there?
Isn't there 5?
There's 4 of them.
They're making a 5th one. They're making
a fifth one.
Indiana Jones movies. I've probably seen one of them all the way through.
Okay.
The rest of them, like I know Indiana Jones, like I kind of know what Star Wars is because it's one of those historical franchises that critically acclaimed, all that. But I don't know the in-depth stories about Indiana Jones. I kind of get the gist of it.
Okay. How about the Mummy? Do you like the Mummy?
I like the Mummy, but I mean, okay, Alexander the Great was Amit's avatar. Woo, cool. Well, that's about it. I'm not going to gush over it. I mean, it was a cool little fact. That's about it. That's all I got for it. I mean, I like that they kind of have to do that. I mean, it's the whole Egyptian mummy thing. They included a cool character from history. They had to do it.
But you do realize, like, Alexander's tomb hasn't been found. If I'm thinking correctly.
Correct. Yep.
And for them to take it and say, like, it's connected in this way, and here's the tomb, and here's what it would look like, or whatever, and having it accurate to where the language is that of that time period from Alex's domination of like Greece and all that stuff. I think that you can't just like throw that away. You can't just overlook that and say, that's trash. That's like next level.
I'm not saying it's trash. I'm just saying it's like ho hum, bah humbug.
So it doesn't register on your excitement scale. It's a 1 out of 10. Oh, that's cool. Move on.
1 out of 10. Now I want to see Moon Knight beat up some ancient mummy characters. All I have at the moment is a guy in a psych ward who lost his powers 2 episodes into a new show. And now he has to fight the guy who has completed his evil plan of resurrecting this ancient goddess that's going to destroy the world. Like, where are we going from here? I don't see what the big payoff is going to be. Like, Alexander the Great is cool, it's fine and dandy. But then we went from Alexander the Great to none of this is real, potentially. That's why I have the issue with it.
Yeah, I get that. Like, put him in the suit, get in the suit, start beating people up. I'm with you on that. I like this episode more, but again, this should have been earlier in the show. Then start off with this or something. Like, why did we do all the kind of BS at the beginning? But or make the show longer. Like, it just can't have 2 more episodes left. That's the weird part.
Yeah, I think it could have been longer, just to give a little bit more background on what's happening and why it happened. But again, I'm not going to hit him for doing this during the pandemic. 6 episodes. It's a Disney TV series. You know what we're going to get. We're going to get him in the suit all of episode 6 until the very end, where he does some like character resolution. And then he's coming back for a 2nd season.
Or Defenders, if they try that again or something. They're definitely because I mean,
or
I
teaming
feel like
up.
we're getting Daredevil or somebody with them soon.
I'm just thinking like these last episodes have to be absolute fire for me to change my opinion. I mean, I just don't see how they're going to do it.
Look at WandaVision. WandaVision through 6 or 7 episodes was like all right, where is this going?
Yeah.
Like, we had the mystery at the beginning, but now like
7
that
episodes.
mystery is still going. And
But-
then it was 9 episodes, I believe.
It was 9, I think, 8 or 9. But to be fair, we've already spent 4, 5, 6 hours with Wanda in 4 movies. We've never seen Moon Knight before, and you're going to take him out of the costume and take away his powers, which is arguably why I'm watching a Moon Knight show.
Powers that he didn't
some-
even really show.
Yeah.
Like I said, somebody
Yeah.
tell me what Moon Knight does.
He
It's a costume of
moves the
healing.
stars
He
around.
said it. It's a costume of healing. He just heals.
Which that's disgusting. Then
He's
like,
got
I'm gonna have
souped
to
up powers
Google
and he heals.
what his powers are after being introduced to the character.
Think of him
Right.
as a cloaked Wolverine. That's about it.
Hot garbage.
Look,
If
all
that's the case, then just give me Wolverine.
right. Oh my god, y'all would not. Y'all don't want any character development at all. Y'all don't want any of that background stuff. Y'all just want Moon Knight beating up people and then moving on.
A, yes, of course. But
Yeah,
B,
every
what are you talking about? Yes.
like we got ages of comic books for this. Like we knew what every other superhero was going to do in their movie. Like we know nothing about Moon Knight. I mean, the comic is relatively new. I think he started in the 70s.
Yeah.
From what I've read. And then just Googling some stuff, I saw that they're kind of basing Moon Knight on the 2016 version that a couple writers did. But other than that, we know absolutely nothing about the character. And through the first 4 episodes, I couldn't tell you what his powers are. I know he has split personalities. He can fight. And he has a 3-piece suit.
All right, it's theory time. Because I'm not gonna change Will's mind. Ain't nobody gonna change Will's mind unless he gets a resolution that's fitting.
That
So
man better be in a gray suit the next 2 hours, and he better be jumping from pyramid to pyramid, slicing up ancient mummies, or I'm going to be highly upset.
So the most upsetting part for Will in this episode, which was my favorite part of the episode, was the second half of episode 4. He gets shot twice, falls backwards, goes to the sunken place. Falls through, they had to do the whole Christ position of him because that's what they always do when somebody eventually comes back and gets resurrected. They do the Christ pose. And then he wakes up in this asylum. And it's kind of weird. Everything's super white and clean. And if you ever seen one of these mental facilities, it ain't like this. But he sees all the characters or the people that he knows from real life in this area. And they're playing bingo, right?
Yep.
They're playing bingo, but the letter and the numbers that they're calling out don't make sense because bingo has a specific order that it goes in. So I feel like that was like a way for Easter egg hunters to go find something. I bet it's a comic, like an issue of a comic that explains what this is. But nothing really added up. And then you see several characters going, like you saw the museum lady with a beetle plush doll. And then you see the FBI agents or the agents that came to his house as workers. And then we eventually get to what he sees as like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like he sees his postcards and this whiteboard and this garden of flowers that this guy's maintaining, and then he sees Layla, and then it's like Layla's looking crazy herself. Like, she's got the, worn eyes and her hair's all over the place. And, you know, it's truly settling in like, oh, maybe this is his real life and everything that we saw was fake, which is what Will was saying he thinks what was happening before. But then he meets with Harrow and he kind of puts it together that he was shot by him before because he started having some flashbacks. Then he runs out and he runs into Steven. And then he runs out of that room, passes the sarcophagus, gets to the double doors, and sees Taro at the end. So that whole sequence is weird and different from the whole theme of the first half of the show. And I feel like they're splitting it up in this way so he can kind of consolidate his personality. Like he has to come to terms, and Harold kept saying it himself, I can't help you until you help yourself. He can't come to terms with who he is as Moon Knight, as the superhero, until he fixes his personality disorder where one can be in charge and the other two be okay with it. Or if there's a third one, because that still has to be confirmed. So I think that what this is setting up is him doing this journey to kind of come to terms with his mental illness and his history growing up and all the pain that he had throughout his life. And to be like, okay, Khonshu, I'm your avatar, but I'm going to do things my way. But that's just my opinion. What do you think?
I'm
I
gonna
mean, I
let
feel
them
like
go. I'm asleep.
oh my god. Oh my god. No, I think I'm with you here. I feel like a lot of the stuff in the last scene, the last 5 minutes or whatever it was just too convenient. Like Harrow's the warden or whatever, or the chief psychologist here, but then also has canopic jars in his office. I mean, you said we see the sarcophagus, and like we've been saying, there's feels like there's clearly a third, more violent personality in there, and the sarcophagus is screaming and like banging, and he had just freed Steven from a sarcophagus too, so clearly that's like some other repressed emotion. And then we run into the hippo goddess at the end, so clearly there's something more going on. Like this is all happening in his head. Everything was a little too convenient to make this like the real show.
Yeah, I think that some of this imagery is going to be either derived from when he walked through Harold's camp earlier in the season, and he's tying it to his mental illness. Like something I saw, which was interesting and confusing, when how do I say this? When when he left his apartment in episode 1, there was a guy outside and he was selling like brooms and mops on a cart. Y'all remember that, right?
Yeah.
Now, why on earth would he be selling it in front of his house? Again, for like, he said it's happened every day. But I feel like that gave hints of, is this mental facility real? Because that would be a person cleaning up outside of his room every day that he wakes up. Or as he's taken into the facility, like he's getting a tour of the facility first. This is how it works. These people are watching a movie. These people are doing this. Just like how he was going through the camp in episode 1 or 2. So I can see why some people think it's like this is the real part of the show, and everything before was, fabrication, because it was just Steven's mind or Mark's mind coping with life inside of a mental facility. And even when he was fired from his job, he got a pamphlet saying that, here's a facility that you can go to. And the guy on the front, you can't really see his face, but I'm pretty sure that's Harrow.
I can see that.
But there was some other things I don't want to get to before we start theorizing too far. I have a screenshot up of Layla, and she's got a thimble on her pinky or a bandage or something, and it's got a scarab on it. So I was kind of mentioning it before, saying like she's got some plot armor, but I think they're setting her up to be one of the superheroes from the comic, and I can really see them doing that because they're going in a more progressive route and they're merging more characters into one person instead of having a large ensemble. So I think that scarab is a big clue on who she is, and of course her name on her passports, or her nickname is Little Scarab or whatever, or her passport is her name means like something crazy, like one who serves or something like that. So clearly she's going to be an avatar for somebody.
Looks like she wants to be an avatar for Steven, Velociraptor style.
Oh God.
But is that what it's going to take for you to love this show? That's what you're missing?
He got a kiss. He got a kiss, and we argued in the chat for hours about who punched him after the kiss.
Which I don't know. You guys went way down the rabbit hole on that.
Come on,
it was very clearly Mark punching Steven. I don't know where you guys got the third personality from. That was mind-boggling to me. And
he fell down and then doesn't say I was dug in. I feel like he doesn't say anything to Steven, or Steven doesn't say anything to Mark, like, oh my God, you hit me. Like, what a weird line to just start talking to the guy who punched you in the face. And like, I don't know, it just seemed weird.
But I have to go back and watch it. But they had like a dialogue right before they kissed. So I don't know.
Yeah. So here's my reasoning for thinking that it's the third person in that hit Steven in the face.
It's not.
Only because whenever, like throughout the 3 or 4 episodes that we've had, whenever Mark takes over, it's for a time period. It's never an instant. And we saw it twice, this one being the second time, that the third personality took over and didn't need permission. And maybe it's going to be revealed that like it wasn't Mark that did like the cupcake truck shooting and killing in the Alps or wherever they were in episode 1 or 2. Like maybe it's this third personality that could just take over at any given time. And so I don't know. It's just hard for me not to believe there's a third character that could take over when we had clues throughout the whole series that there's another person, changing the fish out, asking a girl on a date. Mark wouldn't ask anybody on a date. He's married. Steven wouldn't ask anybody on a date. He's a fool. So, like, who killed the kids on the top of the mountain?
Well, you just answered your own question, because Steven's single, Mark is married. Why on earth would Jake punch Steven for kissing Mark's wife?
I don't know. That's a good one. You might have got me. But regardless of the facts, I am dug in, and I think there is a third person. So,
Oh, that was too good. Checkmate.
yeah, I just think there's too much happening. And then, you know, we get a little scene of Steven. He drops this little figurine, and I think that the figurine isn't actually Moon Knight. I think it's a Skeletor figurine, and it's just painted white. So I think that's something I need to look at later on. And I saw that online. Someone said it was a Skeletor, and I was like, oh, I see that. I see that 100%. Because it's got the same hood. His face is not defined very well. And it's just...
Maybe it was either... I mean, obviously, that's the thing that he created in his head to be either Moon Knight or Khonshu.
Yeah, true. I mean... I got theories, so I'm going to let you guys finish up this segment. And I'm just going to wait until we move on to list all these theories out. Because I got 3 or 4 in my head that what I think is going to happen.
Go ahead, name them.
Yeah.
What is your top?
Them down. Let's go.
What's your top theory?
My top one. All right, hang on. So my top one. The one that I don't know the one that I think that's gonna happen is my top one, or the one that I want to happen is my top one. Which one?
The one that you think is going to happen.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Everything was real that we saw. He's in a state of weird consciousness. This is his mind playing defense to prevent him from dying, just like in Inception. Like if you die in the dream, your brain still keeps going until it dies out. So I just think that this is his mind staying alive until he gets rescued eventually by a god and becomes an avatar of Khonshu again, or gets saved by another god to become their avatar, and then he switches off something. So I think that, you know, the shot shot to the chest probably just put him in this stasis instead of killing him. So that's part one. Part two, everything is fake that we saw before. So Mark is in a dream, and he, you know, dreamed of making this TV show or something like that. That's why we got the weird in between segment of the tomb buster or whatever. And then, you know, everything that he has done earlier in the season has been all in his mind to try to explain, you know, what's happening in real life. So Mark finally gaining some kind of consciousness in the facility is going to have to find his way out. But it doesn't really explain why there's 2 of his personalities in a physical space. So
At least 2.
Yeah, at least 2. And then seeing the Greek god at the end is freaky, and that can't be the real world, because none of these gods...
Egyptian god. We gotta wait till Thor 4 to get some Greek gods, bro.
Oh, I said Greek. Sorry, my bad. Oops.
Hippo was a Greek god. Goodness gracious.
Hey, man, I'm excited for Thor. Anywho, it's too... It doesn't line up. But what I think is my favorite thing, ever since he got shot with Layla's dad, he's been dying. And everything that he's been through has been a sort of judgment by the gods. And this is his awakening or final judgment to see what kind of person he is. And then he wakes up at the end of episode 6 and he kind of takes his final step in becoming like Khonshu's permanent avatar. That's what I think, what I would want the most, because I feel like there's a lot of things that hasn't been explained from when he got initially shot from back then to now, or even before in his early part of his life. Like, Steven says he's been looking for an adventure like this all his life. Well, if Steven was just created like in the last year or two, how could he feel like it's been all his life? So it has to be like Steven has to go back to when he was a kid. Mark has to go back to when he was a kid. Third personality has to go back.
I think you're reading too much into that. I think the part of the dissociative identity disorders when he creates it in his mind, there's also a set of potentially false memories or some, you know, some sort of coping mechanism. You know, it could be tapping into Mark's memories while he's Steven. You know, they're sharing a brain. It's just how he's interpreting them in that, you know, respect. So he could think he was a kid and was interested in all this stuff. Maybe Mark was too, or maybe it's leeching onto Mark's memories of working and trying to find, you know, Layla's father. I think you're reading too much into it on that point.
Yeah. And my fourth one, Khonshu's doing all of this in his head. And he's pushing Mark to try to help himself. Like, he's making Mark decide, or Steven decide, how to be a proper avatar for Khonshu. Like, all of the switching back and forth isn't helping the cause. It's not helping Khonshu's
the third. What if Khonshu's the third? What's it called? Identity.
Ooh.
He's not real. He's the violent one, and he just pops up every once in a while to talk to him as a weird skeletal bird.
What if Khonshu was the one stuck in the sarcophagus and not Jake?
Who's Jake?
His assumed third personality.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What if that's how they do it? That was Khonshu the whole time, and you know he's not. I mean, he's not really in the statue. He's just locked away in Steven's mind.
So he like
that doesn't explain the
fused.
suit though.
Yeah, like why did he lose all his powers in that case?
Well, yeah, we got to see.
Well, that's probably, I think what's going to happen is I don't want to say hippo lady, the goddess is probably going to help them free Khonshu so Mark can get his powers back and heal those bullet wounds, and then we go from there.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, Terawet has to play a key role, and I saw that the actress for Terawet is credited for the last 3 episodes. So she's showing up in 5 and 6. Well, yeah, 4.
Oh,
5,
including this one, maybe it's her voice, probably for the CGI character. Yeah.
So yeah, it has to be something with her. I'm just hoping that they can't leave us at the end of the season. If they regenerate and revive Moon Knight in his costume, and they just have a big fight at the end of episodes 5 and 6, and they don't really resolve anything with Mark's mental, I'm gonna be upset because we focused on his mental for the first 3 episodes.
But that's always part of the character, though, is him having that issue. Like that is a part of the character. It can't resolve itself, you know, especially without psychiatric care or something like that too. Like that would be what a terrible message. Yeah, just punch your way out of DID, no problem. You'll be fine. Like a terrible message to have. I don't think we resolve it. I think it's maybe a little more peaceful, but I think it's some kind of still argument and fight of who wants to take control and when, and that's probably where we leave it off. Yeah. Because I mean that's just that, like I said, that's just ingrained in his character. That's always been part of his character.
That's true.
Yeah, this hippo deity is kind of freaky looking, man.
Kind of.
Welcome to Egyptian gods, man. I don't know what you want.
I kind of flipped out the same way they flipped out. I was like, what the hell's going on in this show right now?
And then the voice was so weird.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
not expect, a high pitched woman's voice. It was just like I said, it was like a total turn on the tone of the show, and it gets you guessing again, which we needed a twist like this. Like, if it was just going to be a straightforward Indiana Jones, I'd have been upset.
Yeah. This is the
Like
worst part
I
of
am.
Indiana Jones is bringing in the weird mysticism stuff. I mean, it works in the first one, but that's my biggest flaw of part 4 is like, oh, literal aliens. Like, okay, too much. Like, bring it back. But where Indiana Jones is always tipped on it a little bit, like, is it not? Like, I actually really like that they leaned into it, especially because they already have been too. Like, we kind of buy in on this because we've seen Khonshu since the end of or the beginning of episode 2. I don't know if he's in episode 1. I think we just see Moon Knight and the crazy devil dog thing. But just speaking on her too, on Tauret, like she's like commonly referred to. I'm looking up her thing right now, Lady of Heaven and like Mistress of Pure Water, and like a storytelling device is rebirth always happens in water. So it feels like she's holding him as he's dying and bringing him back and maybe sort of healing his mind, but I don't think we get it fully healed at all.
So yeah, of course he landed in the water right after he got shot. But whose statue was he holding? Was that Amit's statue or was that somebody
Amit's,
else?
yeah. Amit was down the throat of
Alexander the Great.
Alexander
the Great because he was the voice of Amit. He called
voice.
himself so.
Yeah, and Alexander the Great
The
was
voice.
known as the voice. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's right. I don't know. It's a cool thing to put Alexander the Great in there as
I loved it,
his
dude.
avatar.
I'm telling you.
But some people hated
Sure.
So somebody didn't do their history reports in school. All right. So after all that, what do you rate Moon Knight so far, including 1 and 2?
It's dropped, man. I'm at like a 4 out of 10.
Whoa.
4 out of 10? 4 out of 10? That's Wonder Woman 84 level. What are you talking about?
We're two away from Morbius is what we're talking about right now.
I'm saying like the first 2 episodes were good, and then 3 and 4 they just kind of lost me. So hopefully the last 2 episodes pick up. Like 4 was okay, but I'm like at this point I'm just like I'm still kind of confused on what's going on. I haven't seen enough action. I needed to pick up the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So unless these last 2 episodes are a low key WandaVision last 2 episodes, then
they gotta be.
Yeah, it's not going to do it for me.
How about you, Ben? What do you rate it?
I think I was higher going into it, and I do really like 4. I like what 4 did a lot, but Will kind of brought me down. I'm going to say 7 out of 10. I don't think it's as bad as a 4 out of 10, but there is a substantial lack of Moon Knight in this show, and that is a problem when we tuned in for Moon Knight. Will got me with him being out of the costume, especially because I was really down on that on episode 3, which, like I said, I think they kind of bought me in with what they tried to do in this one. I think they navigated that he's depowered, we do this all the time episode well, but it doesn't mean it's good. I don't like that trope. I mentioned that earlier, so that knocks it down to a 7. And like Will said, I might be trending in his direction more if we don't resolve that quick. If he's not punching people in a bunch of mummy bandages, we got a problem.
I think that's gonna be all of episode 6. So I'm not gonna knock it for giving us some actual character development, because
We've seen Marvel do both, though. That's the problem. You can't say that when we've seen Tony Stark do it with Robert Downey Jr. in a closet with fake lights on his face. Like, you can't tell me that they can't have them in the costume and also have character development. They've done that plenty of times.
I want to see like all of these superhero movies, time and costume, because I feel like Moon Knight's been in costume the same amount, even though it's not the costume that Will likes. Will doesn't like the suit, the 3-piece suit. Moon Knight, Steven's Moon Knight, but like I feel like he's been in the costume a good amount of time. But like I said, I like examining Mark and Steven as a duality. That's what I like. So I still rate it high. I am gonna drop it a little bit from an 8 from before to a 7.5 because
Oh my God! Careful.
oh yeah, it's a big drop there. But
Jeez.
I feel like it's getting to the point where they're running out of time, and I hope it's not rushed. And I feel like they're gonna rush this next part. And episode 5, it better be an hour and 20. It better be super long. Yeah, they gotta push a lot, and I feel like it's gonna be rushed here soon. So I think the turn came late. They should have put this in as an extra credit scene or something like that throughout the first 3 episodes. Like because I've been staying to the end of the credits and nothing's happening, and that's mostly the same.
Yeah, I did that too.
That's how it was with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Nothing really happened after the credits. Now, the credits themselves are cool because it kind of lays out the entire series and what's going to happen and where they're going to be located. But yeah, it's just, I feel like this next part is going to be rushed. But we are moving on to something that we're all hyped about. Doctor Strange got a new trailer. They drop trailers like every day for this thing. So
Nerdfish gift, nerdfish gift, nerdfish gift, nerdfish gift.
So I was mostly excited about Wanda being a zombie at some point in this movie, but it turns out the blood or whatever that's on her face is her squishing one of the Ultron or whatever superior Iron Man robots and getting oil all over her face. So I'm disappointed in that. And I feel like we're going to get a Wanda that's just trying to heal another Wanda or fix another Wanda instead of Wanda being the big bad or something like that. And which I was hoping for because I think it'll be really cool to see Doctor Strange versus Wanda as a showdown.
I don't know though. It feels like they're trying to make it seem like it's Strange versus Strange, but then it feels like that's the Strange who was both a bad guy and then not a bad guy in What If. Like it feels like it's gonna still be What If. We got like the weird octopus tentacle monster too. It looked like from What If. I think it might be because I'm just gonna be surprised if they don't do something House of M related and bringing those mutants in. It feels really weird if that's not where they're going with this, especially when they've stuck to a lot of major giant comic storyline. I mean, we just literally got Brand New Day and Spider-Man and did well. Like that's a maligned comic and still did amazing. Like I can't imagine they're gonna skip over something as popular as House of M and just forget about mutants all of a sudden when it really feels like this is the phase they do it.
Yeah, they have to do it this phase because they are going to introduce Fantastic Four and they have the X-Men 97 coming out. So it's got
I hope they do Fantastic Four some justice, man, because that last movie was so bad. I hope they get it right this time.
I mean, the first ones are bad too, but they're campy, so they're supposed to be. They almost made them two Batman and Robin, and that's why they're bad, which kind of sucks because like that they hit the tone they were going for. But yeah, I want to see a Fantastic Four, especially that they're not my favorite Marvel characters. I'm never excited to read an issue with them in it as much as I like, maybe Ben and the Human Torch, but the rest of them whatever. But like it make me like them, like make them interesting.
Yeah. Which, I mean, something else that's interesting. Thor dropped his teaser.
Man.
I mean, who would have thought that we would be excited for Thor after Thor 2?
Yeah.
Like, they turned around. Taika Waititi is turning that around. The whole staff, the writing is turning it around. They're doing some actual cool storylines, and it just seems like it's going to be another fun movie, and we're going to get new characters out of this. We're going to get some mythology out of this. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too because, like you said, they finally let Chris Hemsworth off the leash. They realize he can be funny, but we also had like really serious moments in Thor 3. He had a few in Infinity War and Endgame, so it doesn't just have to be another like, oh, it's Guardians of the Galaxy, it's funny again. I mean, I'm sure we'll get jokes. Like it's clearly something that works in those movies, but I think we'll get some serious stuff and we'll get like a real movie, real story out of it, and he'll get to play both sides, and I think that's the best part of it.
Yeah.
I'm just ready to see. I was so pumped about Lady Thor being at the end
Yes.
of that trailer. That's going to be a cool concept. Um, Valkyrie ruling New Asgard. I wonder how that's going to be depicted, how that's going for her. Thor on this journey is pretty much back in shape.
Yeah, I love the training montage that they
Yeah.
showed in there. It was great.
The
the
big
ropes
ass
out.
chains. I don't know. I'm excited about that movie. I think it'll be a good one.
You mentioned it earlier too, Adrian, with like the you kind of let slip the Greek gods earlier. Like we're gonna get those in this movie too. We got even more mythology. We swished that one last week or 2 weeks ago. I mean, like when we did that, we were talking about religion in the movies. Like we're gonna get more. We just got Egyptian gods. We're gonna get Greek gods. Maybe Hercules makes his introduction. He was a big character through like World War Hulk and stuff like that in the comics. So it'll be interesting to see like does he get a movie or a show soon?
Yeah, that'll be dope. And
Yeah.
that's a better way of tying everything together than just, throwing in random characters at random times like DC. We'll talk about that later. But
Please.
it's a proper flow of character building and some actual cause and effects throughout the world. Like you can't put Asgard on Earth and then expect it to operate like any other city.
Yeah.
That's why it failed, or it seems like it failed. They got to have cruise lines. They got to have visitors. They're tourists. They're just like Florida. You take away all the tourists out of Florida, you got nothing. So don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. You got nothing. Okay.
Okay.
Speaking of, I hope Disney claps up and moves out of Florida. I hope they do that.
Whoa.
I hope they do that. I hope they move. But you know what? Because Florida doesn't deserve it. They've been taking advantage of Disney and everything that they bring in for years, for decades. I hope Florida gets clapped up.
Disney's not going anywhere.
They might move all those jobs. They said they're moving to Orlando, though. We'll see. We'll see.
I don't know. You don't take a donation from Disney and then turn your back on Disney. Disney's got too much firepower for you to do that to them.
You don't pull a mouse by his tail. That's all that matters. You don't mess with those ears, man. That's it. They'll find out.
Yeah. All right. So the last thing on our list is DC, because this is trash. They talked about rebooting everything, scrapping all the movies that they've been working on, and just rebooting. And same day that comes out, really, Ezra Miller gets arrested the first time, and then 2 days later he gets arrested again. And it's starting to look like WB doesn't have a grip on what they're doing. And I feel like that was evident all of last year because you had The Matrix being promoted like it's a top 10 movie, and that shit stunk out loud.
Oh, that movie was so bad.
I was so mad that I wasted my time with that. The only good
You didn't
thing
even pay for it.
Yeah, I didn't. It was free, and I still was pissed. But like, the only good thing WB has going for them right now is Dune.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the HBO stuff that's on HBO streaming, like Euphoria and Raised by Wolves and stuff like that. But come on.
Do you want to know? I don't have any data for this. I'm guessing right now, probably their most popular. Warner Brothers' most popular like franchise that outside of DC? I mean, those are gonna sell no matter what. Batman made tons of money at the box office. Don't get me wrong; those are brands. But outside of those, and that was a reboot too. We got another new Batman movie, and it still made a bunch of money. But their biggest franchise has to be like Rick and Morty right now. That's where we're at.
And
outside of DC.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I think Harry Potter has died. Rest in peace. I think DC is at a point where Young Justice and all the animated, which was like the backbone of DC, all the animated series, all the animated movies stink. The main movie, Batman, yeah, it was good. But you can't rely on Batman to save your franchise all the time. Where's Man of Steel 2? You got to put out something that makes Superman fans happy. Where's the Flash movie? It's been rumored about for like 5 years. Put it out there. Make it Flashpoint happen. I think their other problem is sharing with CW. Because you had not Gotham. Gotham was Fox, but you had Arrow. You had Flash. And now you have Supergirl. And it's like destroying the brand. Because those shows aren't great at all.
No, but they were at first in terms of just being interesting. I mean, they always kind of had the burden of being a CW show, which, kind of has its own negative connotation anyway. But, I mean, the problem is they didn't even have a vision with that. You had Arrow and Flash in the same universe. Then you had there was a cartoon on a CW Seed, which is like an app for like Xbox and PlayStation for CW. Then Supergirl was on CBS first, so it wasn't even in the same universe. But then they wanted them to cross over. It's like you're just confusing the fans too much, and that's what Marvel does well. And people get mad about it for being cookie cutter, but it's simple. Yes, now I got to go on Disney Plus and watch something, or watch a whole bunch of movies, and we're 23 movies in, whatever now. And they do have to play nice with Sony and all that. But I can follow well enough. I don't have to read a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't need to make sure I'm on 3 different channels. And like you said, then there's 2 different versions of this character that I'm sort of interested in anyway. It's just so weird. I don't know. DC needs to burn it down. I wonder how much they were waiting. They just merged with Discovery, so now they're Warner Discovery. I wonder how much like new blood for them will help. I mean, they just disastrously lost CNN Plus, and it had already closed after 3 weeks. So I'm hoping Warner and with the Discovery now just folds it all into one. Just put everything on HBO Max or put it in the movies. Like, get out of CW, sell your share. Like, I don't think they want that, or buy it all out and use that channel without, because they only own half of the CW. They don't own all of it. So either they need complete control or they need to just walk away and put stuff on HBO Max.
Well, look at it this way too. You mentioned you have to go to Disney Plus to catch up on everything. They have their own streaming. They had Titans on there. They had 3 seasons of Titans, I believe. Titans stinks as a show. Has no direction. Yeah. It's one of the worst DC properties I've ever seen. I got invested because season 1 was okay, and then now I'm grinding it out, waiting for them to do something interesting. Same as Young Justice. If you told me What If was coming out on Disney Plus and it bombed, why would I go watch it? Nobody's going to watch Young Justice because it sucks now.
Well, and I think its biggest sin too, I mean, we've talked about this outside of it too, is it doesn't even connect to the Batman animated series that I loved growing up, and the DCAU that was amazing and had so many parts. Like it's supposed to be it kind of, but it's not. And it's just not good. Like I don't know. And then they are gonna bring back Batman the animated series. I don't know. But just for the movies though, just burn it down. Start over. Like and it sucks too because we did get great pieces. Like the new Suicide Squad was good. Then we got Peacemaker, which was great coming out of there. But it's just not enough. Like just start over.
When
Start
when
fresh.
when your
But
best
Ezra,
film is the bad guys in the franchise, that's not a good sign. That means your
yeah,
superheroes need to be revamped, looked at in a fresh way. Superman, I've been saying it for years. The Kansas Act is done. Like nobody cares he's from Kansas nowadays. You need to make him like that's why we loved what was the Russian Superman called? Red Blood or
Sun.
something. Red Sun. That's why we loved it that much, like more, because it was something different. He came from another perspective. He had more to lose in from his side. And it was different for us to see he didn't just come from, I'm a USA kind of boy, I'm patriotic for no reason, maybe give him some conflict other than he's an alien trying to make it in a human world.
There's literally nothing else you can do with Superman. Like it's just too OP. Like there's no real stakes for him. Like he can't really be beaten. I don't know what else you can do
The
for him. We already
the
had him
stakes
fight
aren't.
Doomsday.
But the stakes aren't on the character itself. The stakes are on his failing, and like that's what I always hated about the Snyder one, making him like Messiah or Jesus, where Jesus is supposed to save everybody. That's Superman's failing. He can't save everybody. That's
Right.
what you have to get to. I don't need to see him beaten. Physically, it's the mentally or emotionally where he can't do it. That's what you need to see in a Superman movie. He's supposed to be a beacon of hope, but even he can't be hopeful all the time. It can't be that hard to make that as a character, like, and make that the movie.
Yeah, I agree because when you have Superman failing, it's some of the best products that you could put out. Injustice,
Mhm.
top tier game, just because of the storyline. Batman failed Superman by leaving Joker alive. Superman couldn't save Lois and the city of Metropolis. Joker blew it up. What happens to Superman afterwards? He goes nuts. But
I don't
then,
even need you to go that far, though. I just have Superman, have to fight through everything. You throw everything at him. One of my favorite stories of like Superman is All Star Superman. He like has to save a shuttle or something, but it's like tricked by Lex, and like he actually ends up like absorbing too much radiation, so he's dying. So he ends up doing like all this stuff, like trying to kind of just do everything he can until he dies, and it's incredible because it's like I just want to see Superman do a whole bunch of stuff and try and fight like that. It just be the beacon of hope. Like if that's the character,
right.
he has no other failings except that he is that Kansas and that human. He isn't an alien super god. He's a human. That's what he is. So just show that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they tried to go kind of down that route with Doomsday. And then they were going to go down that route with like the second or third Justice League movie because he was going to fail Lois and she was going to die. And it was supposed to be this whole Flashpoint thing. But it doesn't matter anymore because Ezra Miller is a dummy.
Put him in Bell Rev.
Like I'm about done with all this Flash talk too.
That's what I'm saying. I don't even want like Michael Keaton's supposed to come back as Batman. Like that's he might not be the best Batman, but that's like my childhood Batman. I love Michael Keaton as Batman. I don't want it anymore. Just start over. It's just go away. Like just let's start it over. Start fresh. Forget it. Like it doesn't matter.
Honestly, just get DC out of my sight.
It's got some of the best
Best what?
best lineup of superheroes. Like, come on.
There's
Come
only
on
two
now.
companies. Like even if they're in second place, there's who else are they going against?
they got too many characters to just piss off and crumble because they can't get some direction.
They either just need to just throw pasta against the wall and make as much content as possible, and some sticks and some doesn't, or make a universe, because Marvel like kind of stopped making other stuff that isn't relevant. They don't even. I mean, I think they still have some of the Saturday morning cartoons, but not as much. Like if they're gonna use that character, they pump the brakes and do it. And it's just so weird because they had a vision, but they didn't have as clear of a vision until Disney bought them. But Warner Brothers owned these characters since like the 70s. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
They have all those characters, and they're making all their money off of Harley Quinn. Like it's just, it's insane.
Which honestly, jokes aside, is probably and I'm talking about the cartoon that was on HBO Max. I think it was on that Disney Universe app. Might be one of the best properties that they have right now. How? Like, how is Harley like the best property you have? It's fun. I love that show. But it's hilarious. But the best property?
Yeah, it should not be at all. Man. You should have Wonder Woman top tier, Superman top tier, Batman top tier. And then from there, create something where there's some conflict between the three.
We haven't had a Green Lantern movie since before Ryan Reynolds was like as gigantic as he is. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
We don't get the Jonathan Stewart that we all grew up with. Also, you do all this casting for all these roles. I just rewatched a couple of the old DC animated movies, and the voice of Lex and the voice of Darkseid, like those, you got to get some people that can have some control of a room.
That's always the biggest thing, because I've watched a few of it, especially like the early ones that they try to do for the animated ones, and especially some of them are on HBO Max, so it's fun to just throw on. But you go from the animated series, like I said, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, that like we love. Like you had Clancy Brown as Lex. Like, come on, man. Like what? Like, and now you just go to some of these and it's like, who are these people? Like this is like a weird made-for-TV movie. Like you had more care for a Cartoon Network cartoon in 2003 than they have for anything they have now. And it's so weird.
Also, if that's the route you got to go down, stop making live action.
Yeah.
Just do cartoons. You have some kind of tie-in with Mortal Kombat too. Mm-hmm. Like, use what you got. I don't know. This is the equivalent of the Jaguars with the first overall pick. Picking a, I don't know, safety out of Alabama State. Swing and a miss.
This HBCU slander on this podcast.
Hey, yeah, that's a little much, man.
I said what I said.
Goofy hat.
Speaking of, next week, a week from today, we will have our live NFL draft stream. I'll be here. I'm not sure who else will be here. The roster will be announced later on. But last year, it was a lot of fun. We watched one of our friends melt down because they did not pick Justin Fields. It was great. It was wonderful. You should be there. This year, you might hear some Jags fans cry because we're destined to pick wrong. I feel like we're going to pick wrong.
I don't. I'm saving it all for the podcast.
What based on the Jags track record makes you think they'll pick wrong? I don't.
Oh my god.
The problem.
Oh my god.
Hey, it's all right. My team doesn't have a first round pick this year, so I'm just gravy. Can't pick wrong if you don't got one.
Jesus Christ. Y'all got Tyreek and I'm just in shambles. What are we doing?
Fins up, baby.
End the show.
All right. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe for a chance to win 2 AMC tickets to any movie of your choice. But you got to comment, you got to like, and you got to subscribe. Giveaway ends in a week. Hopefully we can announce it on the NFL draft stream. And yeah, I don't know what else, what other news do we have to go over? I think that's it, folks. That's all, folks. That's a top tier WB franchise too.
Is it? Did you see the new Space Jam? I don't think it is anymore.
Space Jam slaps. Let's go.
Space Jam 2?
Space Jam 2 slaps.
End the show. End the show. End the show.
Space Jam 2 is a lottery draft pick, my dude.
End the show.
I'm going to end it like this. LeBron is better than MJ. All right, thanks for tuning in to the Dug In Pod. I've been your host, Adrian Lewis. We'll see you next time.
Just drown us out.